Matas Buzelis has been putting in a lot of work this offseason. So, in today's episode, I want to ask the question: is a year three leap loading for Matas Buzelis? What would it look like? What will be considered a success? And then on today's episode, I want to end it off by talking about some of the big questions I have regarding this roster heading into the season. But before we talk about it, break it all down, you already know. You gotta hear the music first.
Cognac, gang.
Shot Boys Podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down for today's daily episode. So if you're tuned in, love what you're listening to today, make sure you go ahead and follow the simple two-step process to support the channel. That is simply hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. It's the easiest way possible to support us over here. But hey, let's jump into this content. Now, Matas Buzelis all offseason long has been posting his workouts individually, posting workouts with him working with some of his teammates. And man, does he look good out there. But the biggest question is a year three leap loading for Matas Buzelis? What should we consider a huge leap? We know that he came into his rookie season, played in 80 games, started 31 games, and only averaged 8 points, 1 assist, 3.5 total rebounds, and shot 36% from the three. And then last year, he pretty much doubled all those statistics and pretty much amped it up to 16 points per game, had about 5.8 rebounds, we'll call it 6, and did have a slight drop off in 3-point percentage at 34%, but he did attempt more shots, doubling those attempts and shooting 34% on adding more attempts is pretty damn solid for a guy doing his job and putting out the work that was required of him. But I want to ask this question. I need y'all to drop it down below. What is considered a good leap for Matas Buzelis? Is it all-star consideration? Is it an all-star selection? Is it being mentioned in the most improved player conversations or winning the award outright? Or is it simply just based on his production? I ask these questions because we look at the numbers going from his rookie season to last year. Those numbers went up at a nice rate. I think going from 8 points to 16 points means that you did pretty damn well. Now, obviously, there's going to be conversations about the added minutes on going from the rookie season to last year. You're going to talk about the additional touches, but legitimately, let's be real with this. What should be considered a legit jump for Matas Buzelis? Let me know down below. I'll tell you where I stand. I look at Matas Buzelis as a guy right now who doesn't really have a ceiling on him, at least right now at the moment. I look at him in his future. He could be an all-star in this league, in my personal opinion. I think about the athleticism that he's going to come with. I think about the three-point shooting that he has in his game. I think about how vicious he can be going in transition with the Chicago Bulls team. I think about the activity that he can provide on the defensive side of the ball. I think about all these things. Obviously, it's about him, putting it all together to where on a nightly basis, this is something that we're consistently doing. And honestly, I look at Matas Buzelis year over year as an improving player with high expectations heading into this season. Now, I wanted to just reference a couple of players who made the all-star teams over the last few seasons and really found some interesting information. It's to not say that Matas Buzelis can't ever become an all-star if he does not make it in this window. But it's interesting when you look at some of the players and when they made their first appearance as all-stars. Now, last year, we can make the comparison and look at Denny Avia, who was under our new head coach in Tiago Splitter. And He did not make his first All-Star appearance in his third year, but he did go from 16 points to 24 points last year, you know what I mean, year over year, and then went from 4 assists to 7 assists and still remained about the same from the rebounding department year over year and ultimately became an All-Star. Now, some other names, when I looked at the All-Star roster last year, I look at guys like Alperen Şengün. He made his first All-Star appearance in 5 years. Denny Avia, 5 years. Jalen Johnson with the Atlanta Hawks, it took him 5 years. Scotty Barnes made it in his third year. Jalen Duren made it in his fourth year. Tyrese Maxey made his first All-Star appearance in his fourth year. Anthony Edwards made his first All-Star appearance in his third year. I bring all this up to say because a lot of us are going to think of when is the right time, quote unquote, to make an All-Star game. I think that it is different for a number of players, and there's going to be a number of factors that factor into when a player of, Matas Buzelis elk, who has that expectation from the fan base on can he make an All-Star game. I look at it between a 3 to 5 year window when a player should make their first All-Star appearance. So I think there's still time on, hence why I say he does not absolutely have to make an All-Star appearance in his third year, but we still should see some continual growth in production from Matas Buzelis. And then that is not the end all be all, that 3 to 5 year window. We looked at some of the older guys, and the older guy that's currently on our team, and Norman Powell, he made his first All-Star appearance at 31 years of age. Now, one could argue he could have made the All-Star game, a year prior to his first appearance, but it is not the end all be all to say, hey, a player has to make their first All-Star appearance between that 3 to 5 year window. But it's interesting when you look at some of these names on some of those people who participated in that All-Star game on when and how did they make their first All-Star appearance. You've seen a increase in role in their particular role. You've seen an increase in their production. You've seen an increase in their team. The talent around their team improving as well, with adding on a number of players, with also added in a number of factors like wins and losses and how effective said player was in that role or on that team. So I think that a big year 3 could be in the works for Matas Buzelis, but that does not mean it's going to garner a lot of attention from fans, a lot of attention from the coaches, and a lot of attention from the players. However, these could also factor into when, hey, or I'm saying, things down the road. Hey, if some people go out there and say, let's just say for the sake of discussion, since Matas averaged 16 points last year, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, let's say he upped that point percentage to 21 points a game. Let's say that goes to 21. So you go to 16 points to 21 points per game. Then you add a couple more rebounds at 6. We'll just lock it in at 6. So you're averaging 21 and 6 and probably, let's say, 3 or 4 rebounds. That could start grabbing some attention amongst his peers. And then really, if the Chicago Bulls add on some wins, I think the last time I checked, the Chicago Bulls were slated to only win about 29 games this season. At least that's what the betting odds are suggesting. But I think that if they can surpass that 29 win mark, you could start getting some attention. But that does not necessarily mean he's going to automatically be placed in to the All-Star game if that's where some people expect him to be in year 3. My expectations is to improve your production in Matas Buzelis and then help this team win ball games. I think that's the simplest stuff. And then obviously you want to see more developmental things from Matas Buzelis. You want to see him be able to hopefully become a 3-level scorer. We know that in the last system that he was operating out of with Billy Donovan's system, it was just at the rim or at the 3. So you want to see if Matas Buzelis, according to when he had that conversation with Lonzo Ball, can really hit some of those middies that they talked about during that interview. If Matas Buzelis can add that mid-range game to his game that he has already and pretty much be able to create shots for himself, to me, that's a success. Because the reason why is the simplest 3 things we talked about. You're going to see the developmental process, you're going to see the uptick in production, and you're going to hopefully see some results in the form of winning to pretty much justify that Matas Buzelis took another step forward. Now, if Matas Buzelis inserts himself into the most improved player conversations, if Matas Buzelis insert himself into all-stars, all-star selection conversations, to me, those are just cherries on the top. At the end of the day, this is a process to where we have to continue to evaluate. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to be a hell of a season for Matas Buzelis, and I think he's very, very capable of improving and continuing that improvement to help the Chicago Bulls basketball team. But we had a number of things and a number of factors that we went over. I gave some on when some players made their first all-star appearance. Like, I know that if we get to year 5, there's really going to be an emphasis on and some chirping from, our Bulls Nation to where they like, all right, it's time for Matas Buzelis to make an all-star appearance if he quote unquote really is like that. So it's going to be interesting to say the least, but I left you all with my 3 things, which is the developmental part, which is the uptick in production and the wins and losses for the Chicago Bulls. But let me know how you all are feeling about a possible year 3 leap for Matas Buzelis down below. Now, before we get up out of here, I want to talk about some of the big roster questions that I have for the Chicago Bulls before we hit into the regular season. We have a number of things that we already have questions about, so I'm only going to give you all 4 big questions that I have on my mind heading into this season. The first one is, will the Bulls be able to shoot well enough from the outside? Now, you know that you got Matas Buzelis at about 35%. You know that Norman Powell can shoot the 3 well. You know that Josh Giddey has improved as a 3-point shooter. Nick Claxton, he's not shooting threes. And then Caleb Wilson, we want to see if his 3-point shot from the summer league can translate to actual NBA regular season games. I think that you have a solid foundation. We want to see how well they can do it collectively. But at the same time, I think that the Chicago Bulls will be able to shoot the ball well, because though Trey Jones is not going to come off the bench and shoot a high dosage of 3-point shots, I think he's capable of hitting some. The biggest question is, will Leonard Miller still be able to hit that 3 at a consistent level off the bench? Because I think he's going to be a part of the rotation. The biggest unknown from the 3-point line is obviously Patrick Williams, who at one point was shooting, I believe, 38 to 40% from the 3-point line. And can he reinsert himself in the rotation and be a 3-point shooter for the sake of the Chicago Bulls? Because I think he's going to be limited to a 3-and-D role. That's just me. But can you gain that confidence from the 3-point line if you see yourself in the rotation? And plus, yeah, we're going to see something else from guys like Jalen Smith and probably a little bit from Zach Collins from that department as well. The next question, will Josh Giddey be able to thrive with this group? And what I mean by this is, will Josh Giddey be able to thrive with this group in the form of setting them up offensively, being a team defender, getting the guys organized when you go a couple minutes without scoring the basketball? If you go a couple minutes without scoring the basketball, can Josh Giddey settle guys down and get them easy shots at the bucket? I think this is one of the better rosters that fit Josh Giddey and what he likes to do, especially in the pick and roll with a rim runner like Nick Claxton, with a guy that can pretty much help stabilize this offense in Norman Powell, and the athleticism that can help you in transition with guys like Matas Buzelis and Caleb Wilson. It's going to be interesting. I think that Josh Giddey can thrive within this, but it's obviously up to him to show us that he can. The next question that I have is, which Chicago Bull will be the biggest surprise? Now, I asked this question simply because I feel like we want to see what Noah Essengate can give us, but I can't ignore what I saw in Summer League when Tiago Splitter was like, yeah, nah, you ain't doing what I need you to do. Go sit your ass down. You know what I'm saying? So will he be the surprise? Nobody really has talked about Rob Dillingham. Will he be a surprise? We know that Matas Buzelis and Caleb Wilson is definitely going to be those 2 guys that everybody's focused on. But who really is going to surprise off the bench, often if you receiving some minutes because somebody goes down or has to miss a game? Who's really going to rise up to the occasion? Will Patrick Williams have a resurgence? That's something I'm not banking on, but it's a legit question on if Tiago Splitter can unlock something out of Patrick Williams with a different system that he's going to have in place. I'm interested. I have a number of guys: Noah Essengay, Rob Dillingham, Patrick Williams, Leonard Miller. Will he continue to ascend? We'll see which Chicago Bulls player will surprise us this season. The last question, because I can continue to go on, but I only wanted to limit it to 4. My last question is, will we see movement in the form of trades before the start of the season, or signings before the start of the season? So when it comes to trades, we have Jalen Smith that has been linked to stuff. We have many of the writers out there suggesting that Isaac Okoro could be on the move. So will those two guys be moved? And is that the best thing or the best option that the Chicago Bulls have at this current moment in time? Should the Chicago Bulls be waiting a little bit? Should we be waiting to see, or waiting so guys can improve their trade value for a team that might suffer an injury, or they might feel close enough and they just want to make a move to add some type of depth to their team? We shall see in the form of trades, should that happen. In regards to signings, I'm interested to see, will the Chicago Bulls pick up somebody off the street? Or will the Chicago Bulls convert one of their two-way contracts, or look at some of the guys and who I'm hoping can, get a spot on the team, and Donovan Atwell? Will the Chicago Bulls fill that last roster spot with one of those guys? Or will the Chicago Bulls simply stay put and just say, we're going to keep this space available and keep our flexibility right where it needs to be, so once the trade deadline comes, we can make some more decisions on improving this basketball team? So those are a lot of questions that I do have. I'm interested to know what questions you all have, so make sure you drop those things down below. But hey, that is it for me today, y'all. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to another episode. Before you get up out of here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well, man. We appreciate y'all. Make sure you always see red. Make sure you always see red. And y'all already know, I'm going to catch y'all on the next one for sure. Peace.
Cognac. Gang.